Let us start by chanting Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavatu Arahatu Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. So we are starting the new chapter today on Bodhi. So if you would turn to page number 149, we will. All right. So, having thus completed the excellent compendium of states of consciousness, I shall briefly explain in due order the occurrence of consciousness, both at rebirth linking and during the course of existence, according to the planes and individuals, and as determined by what precede and follow. Right? So, very exciting. I think we've been waiting for this chapter for some time now. I think the last chapter was meant to torment us until we get to this chapter. So we are starting this very interesting chapter today. Wonderful. Guide to Para 1. I shall briefly explain, etc. In the preceding chapter, the author has classified the states of consciousness with their mental concomitants in terms of such categories as feelings, roots, functions, and so forth. In the next two chapters, he will deal with the dynamics of consciousness as it occurs in the process of life. The present chapter examines the occurrence of consciousness in the cognitive process. In the next chapter, the occurrence of consciousness outside the cognitive process, Vidhi Mutta, on the occasions of rebirth, bhavanga, and death, as determined by what precede and follow. Pubbha Paraniya Mitta. This phrase means that the chittas in any one cognitive process, as well as in the preceding and following processes, occur in due order in accordance with natural law. In accordance with natural law. Now, what is meant by natural law is the word niyama, right? Just to make a mental note of it. Enumeration of categories. It is clear, no? I don't have to explain anything. It is clear. We have not come to the details as yet, right? So, enumeration of categories. The 6 senses. In the compendium of cognitive process, 6 classes, each with 6 members, should be understood. The 6 bases, the 6 doors, objects, 6 objects, 6 types of consciousness, 6 processes, and 6-fold presentation of objects. So this is what is going to be the chart of what we studied through this chapter, right? So I think it is also important that we just, maybe for some of you, it might be difficult to remember the Pali, but I think it is good to have some sort of idea or remembrance of the Pali, because the Pali would be repeated, especially if you're listening to a sermon, the Pali would be used. So just to think of the Pali, the 6 bases is the Vattu, right? The 6 doors are the Dwara. The 6 objects is Alambana, right? The 6 types of consciousness is the Vinyani or Vinyana, right? Consciousness. The 6 processors here referring to the 6 processors of nothing else but the mind, processes of mind. So the viti, right? Viti. The sixth presentation of objects is here Visaya Pavatti. Visaya Pavatti, actually, the correct pronunciation, Visaya Pavatti, right? So, the presentation of objects to the process-freed consciousness is threefold, namely, Kamma, sign of Kamma, and the sign of destiny. Kamma, Kamma Niyama, Kamma,
Kamma Niyama and Gati Niyama.
Yeah, Kamma Nimitti, Gati. Kamma Nimitta and Gati Nimitta.
Gati Nimitta.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So, now, the bases, the doors and objects therein are described before. All right. So we are going on to, so we have already done the doors, the bases, the doors and the objects in the previous chapter, right? We have done the bases, the doors and the objects. So I would suggest that today, after today's class, before you close the book, just skip through and just mentally note, okay, these are the doors, these are the bases, and these are the objects, right? Before you close, then move on today, right? After the class. So, 6 types of consciousness. The 6 types of consciousness are eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. Can someone explain to me as to why it's 6 types of consciousness and not 181, 121 or 89 consciousnesses? Pushpa? Look at the consciousnesses, Pushpa. If you look at the consciousnesses, we have eye, chakku, sota, ghana, jivha, kaya, mano, right? Why is it that it is not, but why is it that it is 6 consciousnesses rather than 89 or 121? Any idea? You have to unmute your mic, Pushpa.
The first 5 sense doors and the mind.
Yeah. So yes, you are correct, but what?
Consciousnesses. Because the others are siddhas. 89 and 129.
No. Lakshman?
Bhante, I think the mind consciousnesses include all the other balance of the 89.
Okay. The 6th classification is then introduced based on
the elements.
Samantha. Come on, this is very easy. Based on
Objects only. Based on
summary.
They are the 6 consciousness elements.
Bhante, is it because they are, I'm not sure whether they are just only doors, but they are the 6 ways that we take any object.
Correct. Yes. It is based on where the mind arises.
Okay. All right.
If you use the word door, it is wrong. But yeah. What you are saying, right? It is based on where the mind arises. right?
I see.
If you
Okay.
say it is the door by which the objects come through, then it is the definition of dwara,
True. Okay.
right? So it has, so an amount of specificity is important. So it is where the mind arises, right? Based on the location where the mind arises. Thank you, John. All right. 6 processes, right? 6 processes. Now, according to the doors, the 6 cognitive processes are, right? Now, this is important. There's an eye door process, ear door process, nose door process, tongue door process, body door process, and a mind door process. This is going to be further elaborated as we go on. But just note that when it comes to the processes of the mind, right, it has to be either one of these processes, right? Either one of these processes. So where would the process of Patisandhi, where would that occur? Devika.
And so I said the 3, there are.
No. First of all, take a deep breath. First of all, breathe. Breathe. First of all, breathe. No need to go all there. Just look at the book here, right? When it is Patisandhi, right? Can Patisandhi arise at the eye door? Nose? Tongue?
No.
Where then?
In the mind.
There you go. That's the answer. The mind. Hari, that's the answer. Right. So where does the Patisandhi arise? The mind.
In the mind.
All right. That's it. So then Patisandhi, now you understand, then everything to do with the mind would arise with regards to a past object, right? Or in the process of thinking would arise in the mind with regards to the objects that is taken in through the doors would be the eye, nose, tongue, body up to the body, right? Moving on. Or according to the consciousness, the cognitive processes are according to the consciousnesses now, right? Remember that sometimes if there's an Abhidhamma question, right? Sometimes they would say Chakku dwara viti, right? Chakku dwara viti, right? That word might be used sometimes. Sometimes it might be relating to the vinyana, right? Which is a consciousness, right? So that is why now they have shown here that they are, according to the doors, the 6 cognitive processes are, or according to the consciousness, the cognitive processes are. That is why they have shown it separately. Very important to note, because sometimes subtle differences can occur, right? Remember now, all of this, it comes into, you might be thinking, okay, you know, small difference, you know, potato.
No.
Right? But actually, when it comes to Chittanupassana, it is not like that. Chittanupassana, you have to be very, very distinct, because what happens is, if there is a doubt, your meditation stops, right? If there is a doubt, your meditation stops. That is why in terms of the Dhamma, the Buddha speaks about the importance of knowing the Dhamma properly. The moment that you stumble upon a block where you are like, oh, is that true though? Your meditation stops there. So you can't proceed after that, right? Until you sort of solve the doubt. Remember also, when you meditate, there is a quality which appears in the mind where you tend to take small things and to sort of, not small things, that would be the wrong term to use, but you tend to be very, very sensitive. In a way, you will pick on small things as well, right? You might have noticed when you start meditating, we have spoken about this before, where you become rather sensitive, emotional, right? Maybe sometimes easily sort of annoyable, right? All of that happens because of that sensitivity that arises with that awareness. So similarly, when it comes to data processing in terms of the Dhamma or how you are seeing the world through Vipassana, you have to be clear. That is very important. You have to be clear. That is why we are doing all of these studies, right? To purify, polish up our knowledge pertaining to the Dhamma. You cannot have doubts, right? Moving on. The cognitive processes connected with the doors should be coordinated with the corresponding consciousness. There you have it, right?
Yeah.
It must be connected with the corresponding consciousness. Guide to para 4. The 6 cognitive processes. The word viti literally means street, but here it is used in the sense of process. When chittas arise, okay. So viti, the word viti can mean a street, a path, right? A line, right? Something which symbolifies a process, a distinct process. Now what? When you take a street, you can see the street. You can see the street clearly, right? There is a path that it follows. Similarly, the word viti in Pali is used to symbolify a process of mind which is distinct and clear and which flows according to a certain law of mind, right? What governs the viti, you might ask, or you might imagine, what governs the viti? What sort of determines that the vijnana consciousness or the consciousness pertaining to the chakku object arises before us, the javanas? What determines that? That is all down to what we say niyama, right? For example, how when the sun shines, water becomes water vapor, is sort of, taken up, and then it forms the clouds, the vapor, and then it sort of showers down, and then it is filtered. That whole process, that is a process of niyama, right? Now, this process of niyama, it is important to understand, it is by condition. It is conditioned by a lot of things. Now, some people would imagine that niyama is in a way to say that it is beyond our hands, right? Or it is something unfathomable, or something which is beyond our grasp, really, but not really. Niyama is to say, for example, if you would take your body, all the complex processes which manifest itself at its responsive and particular time, enabling the processes and the systems of the body to function as it does, right? The way the heart pumps, the way the chemicals are released from the nervous system into the blood, or the digestive system, how the other organs follow, the muscles, the contractions, the expansions, the lung, all of these things. Look here. I mean, there are doctors here who would be, of course, able to explain this far better than I can in terms of biology. But this is to say, there are a lot of mechanisms in place. For example, even for the pumping of the blood, there are a lot of mechanisms in place which allow for such a process to happen. The niyamas are a collection of such complex processes which allows each and every process to happen as it does. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? For example, if we take the sun shines, right? Now, a layman would take, okay, the sun is shining, the sun is out, it's, I see the rays, it's hot, it's shining, that is the layman. But if we go deeper into the sort of how the light or the heat rays travel through time and space, arrive and shine upon the earth, all of these things, there's a scientific process of physics behind all of this, isn't it? Right? And that physics is made possible by many other processes, not only because of the sun's rays, right? So it is a collection of many processes which allows that process to incur. That is what we mean by niyama. Do you understand? Dhamma,
Yes.
I saw a small smile there. Anything to
Yeah,
add?
no, Bhante, can you call it law of nature?
We can. It is. You know,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is the law of nature. But the thing is that even the law of nature, the thing is,
Yeah.
the problem with calling it the law of nature is then what is nature? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
If we use the word law of nature, it is like
What if
saying it is like this debate on soul or atma. You see, you understand what I'm saying? It is like, for example, saying that that the cognitive process is an action, because then it comes down to, okay, if it's an action, who is determining the action? Right?
Mhm.
If we say it's a law of nature, okay, then who is nature?
Yes.
Right? Again,
Yes.
that is why we don't say law of
Oh,
nature.
okay. Yeah.
That is why we say law,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
To denote the fact that there is nothing beyond that as well.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
the fact that it exists because many other factors manifest itself.
Yeah.
Right? Am I? Any questions?
I think we will discuss this in the last chapter when we do Abhidhamma, which is the
No. What is the
Patana.
Patan, isn't it?
Yeah, Patana. Yes.
We won't be going that deep. We won't
Okay.
be that deep. But I think if we successfully finish this class, we can
Yeah.
start the Dhamma Sangani, right? And there
Yeah.
we can actually go into Patana. But then all of you need to commit.
Yeah.
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 So yes, Pushpa.
Bhante, it's like the seasons, like spring comes after winter and summer comes after spring. That is like a Ritu Niyama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in that Ratana Sutra, there's Vanappa Gumbe, Yata Pusitagge. That Gatha, even according to that Gatha, it is the Ritu Niyama. Do you think it's similar to this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what the point that we are trying to make, however, is now even if we are to take the seasons, right? If we are to analyze, if we are to take, analyze the reason why, for example, summer is when summer is, the months of summer, right? But to analyze all of this, why does Japan have so much of fish? Why does Sri Lanka have so much of fish around it? There are reasons behind this. It's not that God has put fish there. There are reasons why. For example, these are the meeting places. The Japanese, the Sri Lankans, the Peruvian bays, these are the meeting places of the cold and the warm waters because of the air. Right now, for example, things like that. Now we can explain spring, the seasons in a similar manner. You see, right now the seasons. Then, if we are explaining, now let's take the seasons. Right, the seasons then also depend greatly on the sun. Right, the sun also depends on something, the gravitational pull of the universe or the universe that we are in. Right, in so many ways. Now you see, then what is our life truly dependent on? You see, right? When we break it down, this is very much more practical to imagine in terms of, for example, there are doctors, engineers, psychologists, psychiatrists, educators. We have a mixture of different individuals here, different professionals from different mothers. Most importantly, where did you learn all of this? When you came out of the womb, did you come out with the philosophies and sciences? No. You took all of these things from other people, right? You learned all of these things, right? You adopted all of these things. That was allowed to you because of the opportunities the world had for you, right? Everything that we know, from how we eat, to how we sit, to how we talk, everything is something that we have got from other sources, which actually puts your life into a bit of perspective, isn't it? Right? In a very sort of, if you have to imagine it, if you have to imagine the Buddha's Dhamma, if you have to, I believe if we can really let go of our ego to a certain extent, this is for you and for me, of course, that we are able to do this. I think that thought itself is so powerful that we would be able to enlighten ourselves, I believe, because the fact of our entirety is broken down by that mere thought. Who am I? How have I been created? I am a byproduct of my parents, from my parents to my professors to the beggars on the street. I am basically a byproduct of each and every creature, animal, human that I have come across in the world. Everything that I know and believe in is someone else's.
Yes.
Right? That is that ultimate concept of non-self. Right? That is that ultimate concept of non-self that we look into. Let's get back. Right?
Yes.
Let's get back. Para 4. The 6 cognitive processes, the word viti literally means street, but here it is used in a sense of process. When chittas arise, cognizing an object at the sense doors or the mind door, when chittas arise cognizing an object at the sense doors or the mind door, right? Note that in your mind, sense doors or the mind door, nothing else. They do not occur at random or in isolation. They do not occur at random or in isolation, but as phases in a series of discrete cognitive events leading one to the other in a regular and uniform order. In a regular and uniform order. This order is called chitta niyama, the fixed order of consciousness. Right? The fixed order of consciousness. So the fixed order of consciousness. So now next Sunday when I'm giving my Chittanupassana, I accept some good questions from you guys. Huh?
Yeah. We'll prepare them now itself.
මාව කරදරේ දාන්න එපා ඒත්. All right. So now, because, okay, in a uniform and regular uniform order, this order is called chitta niyama, a fixed order of consciousness. Is that clear?
Yes.
To everyone? All right. For a cognitive process to occur, all the essential conditions must be present. According to the commentaries, the essential conditions for each type of process is as follows. Right? Now, this is important to note. Right? Now, remember, now in the practice, now we have done Chittanupassana. We have actually not gone into Chittanupassana real, we have not gone into Chittanupassana real deep. You know, sometime in the future, maybe next year, I will get Bhante Tejani to do a retreat for us, who is the person of Chittanupassana in the world at the moment, right? Yeah. From Shwe U Min Seados, who is the person who does Chittanupassana in Burma. I will get him to do a retreat for us. But with now, I want you to close your eyes, right? Close your eyes, everyone. Now, think about when we do Chittanupassana, think about something that you remember. Now, when we remember this something, right, whatever object it is, when it appears, think of now something which is visual, when you see something. Distance yourself from the person who is seeing to watching a person who is seeing. Distance yourself from the person who is actually seeing to observing or being aware of a person who is actually seeing. That distance comes through the letting go of the ego. Now that observing process, when you are seeing, you must understand that seeing process is made out of 4 components, which is the visible object being present, the eye sensitivity, the light, and the manasikara. That is your Chittanupassana. Do you get it? Now open your eyes, right? That is your Chittanupassana. When you close your, now the important, Pushpa, open your eyes. now, in terms of, now when we observe the Chittanupassana, remember with the Vedana, the Anapanasati, the Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, the most important part in your training is learning to separate yourself from the action, from the event. The moment that you learn this, you do not have to be afraid of falling asleep. You do not, because what happens? How does sleep happen? Sleep happens when you come into a position, right? You come into a position or state of focus, samadhi, right? Or you touch upon this place, and now you hold on to it to an extent where you do not know how to control it. Right? So sleeping is a sign that yes, you have arrived at samadhi, but now you don't know how to control it. So it is as if you are on a cliff or the edge of a mountain or a cliff, and you are trying to hold on to something, but you lose balance and you fall over. Right? That is what sleeping is. How do you separate yourself? This is the ego practice. Right? This is where we have to be able to or learn to observe something, right? Now, does any one of you, I don't know, maybe have some bodily pain sometimes, right? Let's say a back pain or a leg pain, a knee pain. Maybe when you're doing your gardening, maybe after your gardening, you have some pains, right? The next time that you have your pain, right? I want you to sit yourself somewhere, couch or cushion or wherever you want, right? And just, you don't even have to close your eyes, but look at where the pain is coming from. Maybe if it is on your back, maybe then you can close your eyes, right? And don't call it meditation, because when we say meditation, our mind goes into a different place when we use the word meditation. But just observe that without reacting to it. Do you understand? And let me tell you, this is very important because we don't know what will happen to us, right? I might go jogging, I might fall, I might incur an injury, and I might be in pain for a long time. Learning this control of pain is very, very important, right? Learning this control of pain is very important. Observe the pain. If you have some sort of pain, try to work with the pain, right? Work with the pain. For example, if you're having a headache, the headache is a little bit difficult if it is a bad headache, but try to observe the headache in a way that you do not call it yours, but you're just observing it. Just as I may be observing this laptop, this screen in front of me right now. Train yourself in that way to observe yet disassociate yourself from what is happening, where you are able to observe. That is the key and element to be able to observe the mind, right? It is that separation. Are you good at separation? And even Anapanasati, Kayanupassana, everything is actually dependent on this, right? That separation. Sorry, Devika, yes?
No, I was going to say, Swaminasa, your advice about sitting erect has helped me immensely with my meditation. And also I do get pain. So what I do is I go and concentrate in the pain and it goes away. And then I go back to my meditation. I practice that like that,
Yeah. And even with regards to sometimes some of you who are dieting, right? Realize this is, dieting can really be good for your mindfulness, not because of the diet part, but because of the control part, right? Observing how when your mind feels when the mind feels hungry, the stomach starts to burn up a bit. When the mind is confident that it can sustain itself without dinner, then it disappears, right? Many things are in this way, right? So this restraint that you have, right, even in the Vinaya, right, all these restraints are restraints that fuels mindfulness, right? These restraints are restraints that fuel mindfulness. I remember when I first became a monk, right, meaning Samanera to Upasampada, right, it was a big headache, you see. because why? So many rules, right? At the end of the day, you have a headache out of thinking about all the rules, to be very honest with you. Right? After thinking about all the rules, because you are not sure, right? You are not sure, or rather you have all these doubts, right? But when it is practiced properly, and you gain, of course, after a couple of days, it's okay, after a couple of weeks, but when you are aware of it, that again gives you so much of restraint. So remember in the Ajiva Attamaka Sila, specifically with regard Ajiva Attamaka Sila, what is the English for the Ajiva Attamaka Sila?
The
Training, the training
eight
rules.
The training
Eight training rules.
precepts, 8 precepts.
No,
rules.
No, 8 precepts is
8
different.
precepts is somewhat different.
But these 8 training,
yeah,
Bhante Gunaratna gave us the 8 training rules.
Training rules. Because why it is said that anyone who wants to attain Nibbana starts practicing this. So now, with regards now for lay people who really are sort of, really do want to attain Nibbana or are in the path, it is said that they have to take up the Ajiva Attamaka Sila, or these training rules. Now, Ajiva Attamaka Sila, it really does discipline a layperson. How? Because of the speech. Right? Because of the speech, that brings a lot of mindfulness to the life, right? In a way that you are aware, right? Now let's come back, right? For an IDO process, eye sensitivity, visible object, light, attention, right? So now this is where, remember I told you, darkness is not an object, right? Darkness is not an object. Why? Because for an eye object, a rupa ramana to be there must be light, right? This is also commented on by Lady Seado, right? Commented on by Lady Seado. For an IDO process, eardo process, ear sensitivity, sound, space, and attention, right? Space and attention. Then we have, right? Space. It is quite interesting how 2,600 years ago the Buddha uses the word space, whereas the scientists only discovered it very, very recently, isn't it? With regards to space and how these objects travel through space, right? Okay. Oh,
Bhante, this very important one. Yeah. The sound wave doesn't travel in vacuum, so you have to have space in it. So this is the basic of physics. So it doesn't go through the vacuum. So 2,500 years ago, the Buddha knew that, the law of sound.
Yeah. And then the fact is that these are very, very, if to a normal person this would seem like, okay, this is basic, but actually there is so much of intricacy on the sort of parts which are used, really, right? Which is amazing, actually. Right. So ear sensitivity, sound, space, and attention, right? Now we know even in sound, just as the breath, there is a arising, a possessing, and passing away, right? Arising, possessing, and passing away. And actually, when it comes to certain parts of even actually Vedananupassana, you start feeling the waves of sound brushing through the body, right? Brushing through the body. Has anyone felt it?
Yes, I know.
Has anyone
While you
felt
are
it?
meditating, you hear noises.
No, not noises. You can feel the sound, right? You can feel the sound. And that is a part of, where Vipassana is, because in Vipassana, now in Samatha, the kilesa is suppressed, right? And you feel a sense of peace. In Vipassana, you directly feel the hindrance and the kilesa, right? Meaning, for example, if some sort of hindrance arises, you feel it in the body, a burning sensation in the chest, a burning sensation up. Sometimes you find, I think, yes, you all have felt, some of you all have felt that actually. You have mentioned on the discussion where you have some sort of constriction or some sort of tightness here, right? That tightness is the attitude by which you are observing the object, right? The attitude so if you are observing the object with too much of rigidity, even if that is a word, I'm not sure. If you are too rigid with the object, then you have tightness. Sometimes here, sometimes along the chest, right? Sometimes along the chest. Now, all of this, it comes down to, if you are able to practice, this is, we throw around this word so much, it has lost its power, but letting go, at the end of the day, it's all down to letting go, you see, right? If one is unable to let go, right, he is unable to meditate. That is why, the Buddha says, isn't it, in the Dhammapada, he did this to me, she did this to me, right? One who says this and sort of ponders upon it, right, will never attain Nibbana or achieve enlightenment. Why? Because of by the lack of that ability to let go, the holding on to what is or which is the ego, right? So even at the fact of that is a key to, even for those of you who were concerned with the Bhavanga Chitta, right? Just let it go, man. Don't think about it. All right. Yes,
But another question.
Yeah.
This attention, manasikara, is it the sort of a parameter that actually governs the strength of the aramana or the object?
Yes.
Yep.
We will be coming to it.
All right. Okay.
Mahanta Rammana, Kuddaka Rammana, Ati Kuddaka Rammana,
Yeah.
Rammana.
Okay.
Actually, depending upon the Manasakara.
Right.
The attention that we have. Now, for example, when you are looking at the screen, right, we think that we only see what is in the screen, but you are seeing beyond the screen as well, whatever which is behind. But those things you don't think about any of that, right? Why? Because the attention, the Atimahanta Ramana is my, or whatever which is here, and sound. That is the Atimahanta Ramana, which allows you to cognize it. Right? So yes, so it depends, the Manasakara depends on that, right? So then the nose do, we have nose sensitivity, smell, the air element, and attention, right? The air element and attention. The tongue sensitivity, for the tongue do, tongue sensitivity, taste, there should be a taste, water element, and attention, right? Water element and attention. what I remembered here is, some people have this gene which makes coriander taste like, what does it taste like? So some people, they don't like coriander. They taste.
Tastes like socks. Not that I ever tasted socks, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, apparently it doesn't. Some people have this sort of.
They put ginger and stuff like that.
Yes, so coriander doesn't taste like coriander for them, right? So I'm just imagining how that would be affected by this, right? Where taste is somewhat, and even I guess when we are sick, we sometimes those taste things, isn't it?
Yes.
Interesting. Any ideas how that happens?
I think it depends on the individual, how, it tastes different for everyone. I
Sure, for sure. I mean, it depends on the individual, but the question here is, what is the process which lingers, which allows for that distortion of taste to occur? Yes, Susan.
Could it be the distortion of the limbic system during the time the person is ill, especially with smell? So it affects the taste, something to do with the limbic system? Could it be? I'm just saying. Scientists and doctors out there, I'm just tossing out an idea. So it distorts the taste because of the limbic system is distorted.
Yeah, but then how the consciousness, because we have to think in the terms of Abhidhamma, isn't it? Okay, it's something to think about. Okay, let's think about it. Okay, all right. Body, do process. Body sensitivity, kaya pasada, tangible object, pottabba rammana. Earth, the Patavi, the element of Patavi, earth element, and attention. And the mind is a hard base, Hadevatu, the mental object, Dhamma Rammana, the Bhavanga, and attention. Right? And attention. Now, any questions there?
The Bhavanga, that's considered as dwara for mind consciousness. Is it?
The Bhavanga is somewhat like the flow, ras.
Yeah.
It lays a foundation for the mind to base itself on, right? But the Bhavanga only lays a foundation for the mind to, for example, now when we take the moment of sleeping, this is a state of Bhavanga. We are in deep sleep for 6 hours. It is a recurring Bhavanga. Now, deep sleep does not have an object, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, if you remember Charlie's talk, he said something which is different, right? He said even in deep sleep, you do dream, which I actually have not heard before. Because now, for example, for me personally, I dream very rarely. I go to sleep and I wake up and it just seems like 5 minutes for me, personally, right? And very rarely do I, very, very rarely. Now, that is something that I probably have to research on, whether you actually do dream in deep sleep. But according to Buddhism, you do not dream in deep sleep, because you are based on a you are in a process of deep Bhavanga, where now there is no object but a slight sort of vibration of mind. Yes, a vibration of mind, if you understand what I mean. It is like a very low frequency of mind, which is at that state, which is, I guess, not is it a beta or a delta? Is it a delta wave, not an alpha? Or is it a theta wave?
Yeah, one of those.
Well, I think it's a theta wave.
I think
Bhante,
Yeah.
because
Bhante,
beta is in normal life. Beta
Yeah.
is in normal life.
Bhante, this has been investigated. When you have a deep sleep,
Yeah.
That means no dream sleep,
Yeah.
your brain activities is minimum.
Yeah.
Because there are so many cases they have measured that one. So what you say is correct, that there's no chance of dreaming in the deep sleep, because classically you call deep sleep, that means non-dream condition.
Yeah. So it is a delta.
Yeah.
It's a delta. Yes, apparently, because that is what I have also heard from our meditation master. Because now when we go into deep meditation and then we sort of meditate before sleep and go to sleep, you don't really dream, and also you get up feeling as if, oh, is it, you're so refreshed, yet you're so sort of revived. So, but Charlie said something which was different. He said that we do all dream, So we are unsure, but again, the Bhavanga lays or appears or operates as a rather base for the mind to sort of continue. And the Bhavanga, also remember that this Bhavanga process is vital to the maintenance of memory, right? And the sort of the carrying on of everything, like for example, like our bodies carry on a genetic stream, right? The genes. The Bhavanga allows this sort of memory and all of this to be carried through our past lives into this life. So that untapped energy or untapped potential is there in the Bhavanga. There is a memory there, right? That is how, for example, these processes of past life regression, past life, what is the Pali term of where you are able to see your past life happens through
Pubbe Nivasana
Jnana. Pubbe Nivasanusati Jnana happens through that. So if the Bhavanga is not there, we will not be having a connection between my consciousness yesterday and my consciousness today.
Yeah.
Right? That Bhavanga is what sets the platform for the mind to exist. Right?
Yeah.
That is sort of like the blueprint, but rather the framework of mind for this birth.
Yeah.
Right?
That carries the karmic data.
Which allows, not carries, but rather
allows to. Yeah, okay.
Loves for the flow. It is somewhat like a conductor.
Yeah.
And what happens in like Alzheimer's?
Not a bus conductor, a conductor in the sense of like
Yeah.
Bhante, what happens if you've got Alzheimer's or dementia when there's no memory?
That would come under a sort of an imbalance or a certain amount of a disruption to that. But we would still be able to, that is where now in regressions, we would be able to view places where we go mad. The only place we are unable to see is a asanna satta bhumi. The only place through regression we are unable to see is asanna satta bhumi. Other than that, if we are to meditate and if we in our past life went crazy, we are able to see ourselves. I'm sorry to use that word. If we were in a mental institution or of some sort, we would be able to witness that. So that would mean that the Bhavanga is still there, but distorted by different other imbalances of the mind.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, it could, because when we now with modern studies where it says again, if we go to the psychedelics where it says that certain psychedelics can reset the mind, that is the word that they use, where certain psychedelics where you cannot treat clinical depression and certain types of depression, when you can't treat it, and these psychedelics can rather reset the mind, how does that resetting process, how is the resetting process possible if the mind 100% is in a place of madness, or is in 100% in a place of depression, right? So that's interesting. Maybe Chamari can give us a comment about that, because it's a field. Chamari, do you have any comments to make?
Bhante, I don't know too much about it, but I know that the rapid eye movement sleep, which is the REM,
Yeah.
that is where we dream, and the other places of the same sleep cycle would be what you're calling the bhavanga, just the continuous arising of the bhavanga chittas. But I'm not 100%. I haven't got enough knowledge about the neuro psychology.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chamari.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. Let's continue. The 6 types of cognitive processes are conveniently divided into 2 groups: the 5-door processes, Panchadwara Viti, and the mind-door process, the Manodwara Viti, which comprises all processes that occur solely at the mind-door, which comprises all processes that occur solely at the mind-door. Very important. Make a mental note of it, right? Are there any confusions up to this point? Is everyone clear? Remember, there are no foolish questions, only foolish answers. So, so please, if you have any doubts, please do, bring it up. Thank you. So, which comprises all processes that occur solely at the mind-door. Since the bhavanga is also the channel from which the 5-door processes emerge, the latter are sometimes called mixed door processes, Missakadwara Viti, right? Missakadwara Viti. Let's read that again. Since the bhavanga is also the channel from which the 5-door processes emerge, the latter are sometimes called mixed door processes or Missakadwara Viti. Is that understood?
It's mix.
No. Yeah, I will explain that. Now, just as we have discussed, the bhavanga allows for the mind, or if we do sort of dig into it, the bhavanga becomes or is a platform for the mind to arise, right? Is a platform or a help for the mind to arise. For that reason, the 5 sense door processes, right, also depend on the bhavanga. Now remember, just know this, the bhavanga exists before 5 sense door process or a Panchadwara Viti. The bhavanga is there, the bhavanga chalana upacheda, the breaking of the bhavanga, and then the consciousness process arises. Similar process happens in the mind door, right? Due to this reason, because bhavanga helps both the mind door processes and the 5 sense door processes, for that reason it is sometimes referred to as Missaka Dwara Viti. The Manodwara is referred to as Missaka Dwara Viti. Do you understand? Right? So it is another name which is introduced to sort of get rid of that confusion and to sort of say that it has this help, right? Or it has this mixed door process which allows for this mind to process itself, right? This Viti to carry on. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right? It is because the bhavanga, it is specifically because the bhavanga helps in the process of both the five sense door and the mind. Right? That is the only reason. Understood?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. As they involve both the mind door and the physical sense door, the process door. The processes that occur solely at the mind door are then called bare mind door processes. Shuddha manodvara viti. Shuddha manodvara viti. Right? Since they emerge from the bhavanga alone without the instrumentality of a physical sense door. As will be seen, the first five processes all follow a uniform pattern despite the difference in the sense faculty, while the sixth comprises a variety of processes which are alike only in that they occur independently of the external sense doors. I will go through it again. Right? I don't even ask whether you got that. Right? I will go through it again. Right? Okay. The processes that occur solely at the mind door are then called bare mind door processes. That is clear. There can be processes which have no part of the five sense doors. Those processes are called bare mind door processes or Shuddha manodvara viti. Understood?
Yes.
Good. Then, since they emerge from the bhavanga alone without the instrumentality of a physical sense door, that is clear, right? There can be processes like that, right? As will be seen, the first five processes all follow a uniform pattern despite the difference in the sense faculty. Now, this is referring to what we have covered here, right? Now, just if you turn the eye door process, the ear door process, the nose door, tongue door, body door, all follow a certain pattern, isn't it? The only difference is what? The sensitivity, right? I mean, the sensitivity is where the faculty is the only difference, right? Depending on the faculty, it takes a different object. That is the difference, right? Other than that, they have a commonality of function. That is what is said. That is what is said, right? As will be seen, the first five processes all follow a uniform pattern despite the difference in the sense faculty. Is that understood?
Yes.
Right? What they're talking about is understood. While the six comprises, now we'll look at the six, a variety of processes which are alike only in that they occur independently of the external sense doors. When you look at the mind door, there is no external sense door, right? It all arises based on the Hadevattu, mental object, bhavanga, and attention. Now, with regard to the Hadevattu, now I am asking you a question. Hadevattu is what? Define Hadevattu, Samantha. Samantha. Okay, Sujata. Sujata is new to the class.
Yeah, but I can tell you, I think, something to do with the heart. Heart base. Is it?
That is the English translation of Hadevattu. That is not it.
No, right. Then I don't know. I try to get into my head.
Okay.
I'm attentively listening and following where I can.
You to attentively listen to Sujata. You're doing a good job. Okay.
Thank you.
Anoma. What is Hadevattu, Anoma?
Okay, it's hard base. I know it's hard base, but
yes, heart base.
Sensations that come to the heart.
No, no. Sujata, no.
It's okay.
Manova, heart base.
Processing of.
No, no.
No.
We have Shriyani.
Is it Chitta Anupassana?
What?
Chitta Anupassana?
It serves as
Sometimes I imagine that you are playing tuk with me.
Can I say something?
It serves as a hard base, a physical support in other than for the five senses. Serves as a hard base. The physical support for all the chittas other than those which come through the two sets of the five sense doors. So it's a base, it's a support, physical support for things that come in other than the other things that come to the other sensitive doors.
Not physical support, isn't it?
Yeah, physical support.
It's physical support.
Okay, okay.
Usually
It's a physical support that actually support the occurrence of that consciousness.
Okay.
Or you can call it, I tried to explain it as the location where mind consciousness is located, but you explain that you can't say that, but it's the physical support. It's a place where they gives the physical support for occurrence of consciousness.
You see,
or other than that,
okay.
I said.
Okay, we'll take that definition. What Dill and Dhamma said. Okay, the physical support for the mind to arise, right? The physical support. What if there is a heart transplant? What if there is a heart transplant?
Yes. Swaminathan, how would that be then?
Yeah,
No.
Asking.
Okay. The location is not the heart, Bhante.
Okay.
It can be in the blood, or it can be in the individual cells even. So it's the because there are quite a number of theories running at the moment. Actually, some says that actually it's the individual cells that carries the mind consciousness, and but the what we call it's not the heart. It's definitely the blood or the system.
So why does it
explain to us and told that it's in the right in the core of the heart, the thick blood at the core of the heart.
Yeah, that is the so when we say the Hadevatu, the Hadevatu refers to, or what it speaks of is that the mind processes arises depending upon depending upon a thick blood located deep within the heart. So then my question is, what if there is a heart transplant?
But you have still the blood
circulating.
Yeah, but still circulating.
So you can say that the blood which is
if somebody else's, transplant means being transplanted from somebody else. So the process differs. That's my foolish answer.
No.
Blood also can be transfusion, blood transfusion. Then,
but it's in the mind, I think.
It's the feelings.
Now, Bhante, your question is actually when you actually do a heart transplant or something like that, you still have the blood circulation going on. So still you keep the blood circulation. So your Hade Vastu is still there.
Running, yeah.
Okay, so
right.
what acts, so at the moment of the transplant, what acts as the bridge between one heart and the other then?
Blood.
The thick blood that's circulating.
Yeah, blood, yes.
Because you have an artificial lung which is circulating the blood.
That's right, yeah.
Then there's no life.
So if there is a transfusion, then what is it then?
So transfusion also, if you give a pint of blood, you still have another 4-5 pints. It will mix with it and go, but there's still a medium that's circulating.
The transfusion is not at all a problem, because transfusion is still the heart
is given.
Yeah, the heart is pumping and the balance of the blood is
Yeah. Okay. These are, of course, all theories, isn't it? We are not absolutely sure about what happened, but of course, I think because there has to be, according to the Abhidhamma, there must be some sort of a bridge between one heart to the other. Between one heart to the other. Okay. All right, moving on. So, para 5, 6-4 presentation of objects. The 6-4 presentation of objects should be understood as follows. At the 5 sense doors, it is 1 very great, 2 great, 3 slight, and 4 very slight. Right? Now, this is what Dhamsri asked before. Right? So, we will just look at the Pali. 6-door presentation of objects. Atimahanta Rammana, Mahanta Rammana, Paritta Rammana, Atparitta Rammana. Right? When it comes to at the mind door, it is clear and obscure. That is clear and obscure. That becomes Manodwarapana, Vibhuta Rammana, and Avibhuta Rammana. Avibhuta Rammana. Right? Now, so guide to para 5. I hope you all are all with me. Yes. So we are now going into, now this is speaking about when these objects appear to the mind, right? Now, as you are looking, now how many things are around your room? For example, the room that you are in, there are so many books I can see. There are flowers, there are different colors of the wall, you have ornaments and so many things. All of these are objects, right? While some objects are weaker, others are more powerful. Right now, I am probably the most powerful object to you. Why? Because you're giving me attention, right? So you see, I am as much an object to you as the vase next to your laptop if you have one, right? These are cognized by the mind, and dependent upon the power of the object due to the manasikara or attention that you give to it, right? The mind will understand it, derive its cognitive processes or the foundation for its cognitive processes from that object which is now taken in, right? From the process that is taken in. Now, for example, if you take water, you will drink it, right? If you take water, you will drink it. If you take fire, right? If you take fire, will you try to drink that? No. Will you try to touch it? No. That sort of gives way to a different process, different understanding altogether. Why is that? That is allowed through the mansikara that is given to the object. Dependent upon the mansikara, what happens is your pattern and process of thought is changed or conditioned, right? For example, if it is a dry, if you are walking in your garden, there's a dry patch, there's a wet patch. You will walk, seeing the dry patch and the wet patch, you will walk on the dry patch, avoiding the wet. That normally, if it was a sunny day or if the garden was dry, you would probably walk through where it is wet. But because it is wet, now you avoid that, and now you see the object changed your pattern of behavior. You see that. That is what the element of the object creates. It changes your behavior. It changes the way you think. For example, your best friend Before, when she was your best friend, you reacted in a certain way. Now, if you're mad at her or angry with her, you react in a different way. Right? That is that power of object. Right? That is that power of object. Okay. Of course, we can go on talking about this, you know. You can connect it into so many things, right? You can connect it into so many things, but we are going to stop there. All right. Presentation of objects. The Pali expression Visaya Pavatti means a presentation of object to consciousness at one of the 6 doors. The presentation. Now you see this. This is also, you know, this is one kammatthana to the next, really. The presentation, imagine that process, the presentation of object to the sense door, right? The presentation of object to the sense door. So there, the process of taking it is not beyond the eye, it is at the eye, which is important to note, right? So now, for example, if this cup is mine, this is a shot glass, but I use it for candles. But if this cup is mine, right, this cup becomes mine at what place? Now, when I touch it, now you see, this is mine. But actually, this becomes mine, not beyond the hand, but at the touch. Just as I look at it, it becomes mine, not here, but here. That is a very important kammatthana, right? It is that mind which has now taken the object, where now you process it as yours, right? As yours. But what happens? Now what happens? Let's say I lose my eyesight. Now what happens? Losing your eyesight isn't the cure for your greed. What happens now? Now, scientifically, we know now the other sense bases become more powerful. Now you feel more. That is what happens, isn't it? Now you feel more. Now you taste more. Now you hear more, right? That is what happens, you see. Why do we do that? Because to fill out the gap of this, we crave more through the rest, right? So actually, whatever it is that is going through our minds or going on within us is actually just within us in this sort of body or mind, which is the island onto itself, which is its own existence, right? Cracking that understanding with wisdom is the key to enlightenment. That is where we are all struggling, right? Understanding this fact, but we don't want to understand. We don't want to, because we know now, if we really wanted to understand it, at this class now, in this 1.5 hour session, we have spoken of tanha and tanha to say how we have now. That is the truth. That is according to the Dhamma, that is what happens. But the fear of putting this down keeps us from really understanding that. So there again, the inability to let go keeps us bound to samsara, to the cycle of rebirth and death. Right? That is why the Buddha, did not just preach the Dhamma, right? In its most sort of absolute glory, he taught dana, sila, the culture, the attitude, all of these things. Why? To mold the mind. If, you know, some people would say brainwash. Yes, probably yes. Right? Some would say to brainwash. You know, unfortunately, yes, unfortunately, we have to be brainwashed to do good things. Right? So it is in a way, whitewashing, brainwashing yourself to now be able to let go, to sort of take a step back, you know, believing in hope and belief that it will be okay. right? It will be okay. Now, for example, if your daughter or son is there, right? If you're the person who usually cooks, right? And now your daughter or son wants to cook, right? You know that they are really bad cooks. No one will be able to eat dinner. Will you be motivated to give up the kitchen? Not really. It'll be a no, step off, I will do it, right? If they are really bad cooks, right? But if you know that they are good cooks, right? They will really make a fantastic meal. They will be like, oh, please go on. Right? You see, that is a very shallow example, but exactly how the mind works, even with regards to meditation and the process of letting go, right? For meditation and process of letting go, right? We have to believe, we have to know and trust that it will be okay. It will, even with regards to death, it will be okay, right? We have to have that faith in ourselves, not the Buddha, not anything else, in ourselves. It will be okay. That allows you to let go, right? That allows you to let go. That is then a position of mind we all tend to, or through our practice, we work on. It is the letting go at the end. All of these dhammas specified in 86,000 ways is all in ways and how we could motivate ourselves to let go, take the back seat with regards to what we smell, feel, Chakku Sota Gana Jiva Kaya Mano, with regards to all of the processes that we do process, right? So the best way, little things, we are not going to go ahead now, we'll stop the class now, but in little things, for example, if your partner annoys you, sometimes if your partner annoys you, there are certain things that you would do. Maybe for a couple of days you will not talk to them, right? Or you will give them the cold shoulder, right? Or different things. Maybe you'll put more salt in their food.
I've done that.
Right? If they really annoy you. But then what you actually do is, as a practice, right? Realizing that your annoyance is, at the end of the day, your annoyance, right? It's hard. Sometimes you want to squeeze that damn man's neck.
I will cry and
right? Sometimes you get so annoyed, but that's the practice, right? That's the practice where you sometimes you do not give way to your annoyance, where you are able to, however much founded it might be, right? That you do not respect your ego aspects, where you learn or train yourself to let go of that part. Difficult, but that is what we do. Difficult, very difficult, but that is what we do, right? That is how we train ourselves. This is not about all of these people. At the end of the day, 80, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, we will die, right? We are going to have a new beginning, right? At the end of the day, that is what the Buddha says. The time that we have in this life is shorter than that amount of sand on the tip of your finger compared to the great amount of sand, like when it is compared to the great amount of sand, right? Knowing that as Buddhists, this is where it is. This is the trick, really. We realize that when our minds are holding us back, right? For example, when we are annoyed at people, or we want to show that we are angry, we want to show them that we are the man. We want to show them that we are the people. I can be mad at you and ruin your whole thing. But that is where you stop yourself. That is where you break your narcissism. That is where you break your ego. That is the practice, right? And when you have let go of that anger, giving and being aware of the fact that it was so difficult for you, but you did let go of your anger, and then you spoke to him, or you smiled at him or her, or whatever it is. I'm saying him, but him or her. And then you go into meditation, you will be able to meditate very well. Out of the pride of the fact that you have let go of your narcissistic-based anger, and you have chosen the practice beyond all else, right? Chosen the practice beyond all else. That is how we train ourselves to face pain, to face situations of life which are so difficult. That is how we train ourselves. We go through that anger, like Venerable Pannavamsa, he mentioned it briefly, that pain that you experience, the moment that you let go of that pain, it is as if absolutely like this, it all disappears. Just a second, shorter than a second, it disappears so fast, and you feel so free. That is brought about by one thing, the mentality that you let go. Freeing yourself from that sensation or that movement, that it brings so much of freedom just in 1 second, shorter than a second. And you will not have that pain again, because now you know how to let go of it. That comes through. In meditation, no pain, no gain is really, really, really apparent. No pain, no gain. That is very, very apparent in meditation, right? Very apparent. And that relationship you have with that pain, you must work with it, right? Sometimes now, I know some of you during the meditation sessions, you struggle to keep your eyes closed, right? You struggle to keep your eyes closed because when the mind wanders, you are unable to be truly aware of the mind wandering. So you are carried and you open your eyes sometimes. Or sometimes you are fearful out of fear, sometimes because of pain. But remember, your determination, no, I am not going to open my eyes. You are in absolute pain and you're moving every 5 seconds. That's okay, but do not open your eyes. Do not open your eyes. That is absolutely important, right? You might be suffering through the session, but do not open your eyes, right? Because you must have victory in some way. You must win in some way. And how do you win? Do not open the eyes. The moment you open it, it's too much. The awareness breaks. You're not developed enough to be aware with your eyes open, right? That's difficult because there's a barrage of elements, right, that come in through the sense faculties. That's too much. You keep your eyes closed. That going through that experience, and you do that, you will be able to really go into a state where you're absolutely peaceful when your eyes are closed, right? All right. So then I will see you day after tomorrow. And I will upload the session tonight.